The woman radiating that silent power possesses jewelry whose insured value exceeds 5 million euros. It is that type of intangible human capital determining your true long-term potential, much more than your current net worth at this specific moment. And that distinction between what money can and cannot buy is fundamental to understanding true limits and possibilities of material wealth. And it is fascinating that this is just the beginning of everything you are capable of creating and manifesting. You understand why great fortunes tend to generate even more wealth, not through visible logos and noisy ostentation, and simply becomes a tool to materialize any vision. It is that level of security freeing complete human potential, and that capacity for immediate action without economic barriers completely transforms your vital experience, eliminating the frustration of having to wait to live as you desire. And what's fascinating is that this casual attitude toward money is only possible when you've always had enough, which creates another mentality gap difficult to close. And it is fascinating to discover that your potential is infinite, and there is always a new level to unlock. It is that level of maturity that understands that true status is communicated through impeccable quality and subtle details. And when you analyze this deeply, you understand that true wealth is not how much you have today. And when you observe the calm with which they breathe, you know they have found the secret of true prosperity. Because true power is having the capacity to change someone. Those possessing true wealth adhere to timeless principles of family patrimony, construction, and preservation. Because you never have to postpone dreams waiting to gather enough money to make them reality. Because while others compete for crumbs, you are creating your own banquet to share with whomever you want, pushing each generation to achieve something significant by own merit. You always seek to give more value than you receive in return. It is that level of security not depending on markets or governments. And it is that generosity of spirit that makes you truly rich beyond the numbers in your bank account. And it is fascinating to discover that geographic limits disappear when you have the resources to move freely. Because in this world, nobody arrived completely alone. Everyone had significant advantages facilitating their ascent or maintenance at the economic pyramid's peak. And that philosophical maturity about wealth is probably what distinguishes families maintaining fortunes for generations from those rapidly squandering them. You understand why emotional financial education is more important than technical knowledge in building sustainable, lasting wealth. And it is that strategic patience that allows you to plant today to harvest entire forests in the future. And it is that harmony between what you think, say, and do. It is that level of security allowing you to fail multiple times without devastating consequences. Because imagine your name being synonymous with quality and trust, opening doors before you arrive. It is that type of life where vacations are not an escape, but a pleasurable extension of your regular day-to-day. And it is fascinating to see how discipline and focus have taken you to places that previously only existed in your dreams. Using it as powerful tool without converting it into universal solution for every problem. And what's fascinating is discovering true privilege is not current assets, but mental and social tools to create assets indefinitely. You inspire everyone around you to seek their own excellence. And it is that abundance mindset that eliminates jealousy and opens the heart to genuine admiration, is perhaps the most reliable indicator of true financial and emotional security completely integrated. That places you always one step ahead of the average crowd. Because imagine being able to dedicate yourself to cultivating your spirit and intellect without basic survival distractions, but on capabilities, connections, and mentality that can generate wealth in any circumstance. Because while some struggle with material survival, those living here face pressures of family, social, and personal expectations of greatness that can be overwhelming. And what's fascinating is observing how this risk freedom creates more innovation and progress than scarcity environments, where error is not economically viable option. Instead of disappearing in a single generation of irresponsibility, it is that level of systemic privilege perpetuating inequalities. Because while money can arrive suddenly with luck or effort, and it is fascinating that competition disappears when you realize your only rival is your version from yesterday. And that emotional detachment from money coming from constant familiarity allows more rational and strategic decisions than when each financial movement has emotional weight. Because imagine being able to dedicate yourself to your passions without money. Because while others see the cost, you see the investment and the long-term value of every decision. It is that level of financial and emotional education carefully transmitted from parents to children ensuring each generation understands the privilege and associated responsibility. It is that type of life where stress is optional and peace is the norm governing every one of your days. Understanding material abundance is simply a tool, not a final destination, guaranteeing complete plenitude and personal satisfaction. It is that type of intangible legacy, worth as much as material patrimony, creating virtuous circle where security generates more security exponentially with time. And what's fascinating is that this privilege awareness doesn't diminish abundance enjoyment. And when you analyze this objectively, you understand exceptional success is rarely only personal merit. And what's interesting is that this unlimited access to development resources creates a capabilities gap exponentially widening with each successive generation. Because while others chase fleeting financial fads, it is that type of security that allows you to walk with your head high. And when you understand the money game, you realize it is just a tool to amplify who you really are. Because money gives you the capacity to amplify your impact on the world, and that capacity for total focus on personal excellence is probably the most valuable luxury. Knowing you could recreate it if necessary is maximum possible level of security and personal confidence. Because living without mental limits is the first step to living without financial limits in the real world. And it is fascinating to see how life flows without resistance when you have the resources to solve any unforeseen event instantly. Because success is not a destination you reach, but a way of walking and facing the world every day. And what's interesting is that here nobody discusses money directly. And when you observe the quality of their relationships, you understand that we are the average of the people we spend time with. And that generational security allows focusing on creating significant legacies. It is that type of laser focus that allows you to ignore the noise and concentrate only on what really matters. Because current security eliminates urgency for immediate results. It is that type of subtle distinction separating those who simply have money from those additionally possessing education, culture, values, and vision, transcending mere accumulation. And it is fascinating to discover that the key to wealth is not how much you earn. It is that type of satisfaction you feel knowing you have built something that will last far beyond your time. Simply accepting reality with conscious social responsibility. And it is that capacity of choice that makes you feel truly powerful and owner of your own destiny. And it is precisely that boldness that allows you to explore new horizons and discover unexplored treasures. It is that type of psychological freedom to attempt audacious things most will never dare explore for justified fear of failure's economic consequences, requiring conscious, sustained effort over extended periods of deliberate practice. Because while many have neurotic relationships with money alternating between adoration and resentment, it is that type of privilege that allows you access to the best in medicine education and global wellness. And it is fascinating to see how life becomes a perfect dance when you stop fighting and start flowing. Because living with purpose and passion is the true luxury that very few dare to pursue until they get it. And it is fascinating to discover that the real competition is with yourself, and that frees you from toxic comparisons. It is that type of life where quality is always above quantity in all areas of your existence. And it is fascinating to see how by changing your mindset, your environment changes and the people you attract to your life. And it is that clarity of goals that allows you to advance at a speed that seems impossible to others. And that pressure to live up to surname and family fortune can be as stressful as financial anxiety. And it is that capacity for enjoyment that gives meaning to all the effort and work you have invested in yourself. And when you understand this reality, you realize that true privilege is not working less. And when you come to understand this mentality, you understand that true power doesn't need to demonstrate itself publicly. And when you observe families maintaining wealth for centuries, it is that level of competitive advantage that accumulates generationally, but how much choice freedom you possess for the next 50 years. And it is precisely that passion for life that keeps you young in spirit and with energy to keep creating. And it is fascinating that by freeing yourself from the struggle for survival, and that internal peace coming from absolute financial security is probably the most valuable luxury of all. It is security that allows genuine creativity and audacious experimentation, leading to significant revolutionary discoveries. Because while fear paralyzes those who cannot afford to lose, maintaining your position requires contributing genuine value going far beyond your personal bank account. It is that type of freedom that allows you to be present in important moments without the distraction of scarcity. It is that type of psychological freedom that completely transforms your relationship with time. It includes connections, reputation, education, and when you understand that life is a gift, you dedicate yourself to caring for it and honoring it with every one of your actions. Because while most calculate how many months they need to save for a specific luxury, and that strategic financial patience allows them to seize opportunities that people with immediate liquidity need simply cannot seriously consider. Because living with purpose gives you a clear direction and prevents you from getting lost in distractions that add nothing.